The Legend of the Night Spinner, Episode 10, The Endless Web. The mist had lifted, but the air felt heavy, as if the forest still breathed. Joris stood in a clearing, his heart pounding, his hands cold and trembling. Hendrik stood beside him, but there was something strange about him. His gaze shone with unusual sharpness, his movements controlled, almost unnatural. Joris realized the truth. Elise had never truly existed as he thought. Everything he had seen, heard, and felt was a projection, a manifestation of the forest itself. The forest had used Elise's story, her loneliness and anger, as a kind of lure, a web of illusion to capture curious souls. The forest, Joris whispered, his voice barely audible. It's the monster. Hendrik nodded slowly, without a word, and led him to a winding path that seemed to lead deep into the heart of the Veluwe. It was as if the trees were bending, the mist pulsating and twisting around them, as if the forest itself were guiding their movements. Everything you thought you knew, Hendrik whispered, was only the beginning. The web, it is infinite. Every curious mind, every living thing that strays too far, is absorbed. And sometimes it lets a view escape, but never for long. Joris felt the threads twisting around his ankles again, but this time not just from the mist. It was everywhere. Everywhere in the forest, under the leaves, in the air. The web had become life itself. He tried to pull away, but it felt futile. Then he heard a whisper, not from a mouth, but from the forest itself. Do you want to become a stitch too? The forest had created its story, spun its life, so that curious souls like him could be ensnared. Every victim, every disappearing walker, every half-knitted pattern was part of the Veluwe's infinite web. Joris tried to run, but the mist flowed around him like living water. The trees seemed to move their roots, branched, twisting and forming a cocoon of thread and shadow. Hendrik looked at him, his eyes now completely empty, and a soft smile crossed his face. A smile that has no human origin. Joris felt himself falling and seized in threads, the web falling into a perfect cold scarf around his neck. For a final moment, he thought of the stories about Elise, about her loneliness, her anger, and he understood. That was just a facade, a false attempt to lure him in. The real monster wasn't a ghost, but the forest itself, endless and hungry. And then everything fell silent. The mist lifted, the air smelled of wet earth and sheep's wool, and the path seemed empty. The end is only a beginning. The Veluwe breathed again. Its secrets remained deeply hidden, but the web awaited in the next curious soul. Many hikers still fall prey to the dark realms of the Veluwe today. This story is and remains a legend, waiting to be passed down from generation to generation. And for those who question or investigate, the darkness awaits. Elise's studio was never found, and the little house seemed to have disappeared at the rising of the new moon. People occasionally think they see her appearance in the woods, but it is then dismissed as a white woman, another legend that has held by the Veluwe for centuries. Whether this legend is true, judge for yourself. But be careful, when you brave the paths of the Veluwe in the dark hours, it awaits. This story continues in the next episode. Will you still keep listening?